Chief Justice Ray Zondo following the retirement of former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke. Justice Zondo has been a constitutional court judge since September 2012. He has also served as judge president for both the Labour Court and the Labour Appeal Court. In a wide-ranging interview with the SABC's Aldrin Sampear, Justice Zondo says accusations of judicial overreach against judges threaten the confidence the public has in the courts.
Deputy Chief Justice, I guess we start off by saying congratulations. Over the past 2 weeks, you have been our newly appointed Deputy Chief Justice. Just quickly tell us, what does this mean for you, even having that vote of confidence where the President nominated you to fill the shoes of the former Deputy Chief Justice, Dikgang Moseneke?
Well, it's a special honor. I regard it as a special honor. I think it's a privilege to be appointed to this position to serve the country. It's a very important position. It allows me to play a very important role in regard to the administration of justice. And I know that, for example, before the interviews, various legal bodies and interested parties or bodies were invited to send comments to the JSC, and all those that did send comments were supportive of my nomination, and that to me means quite a lot. There are other colleagues who could have been appointed, and that the President thought that I should be the one. I think it's really a special honor and privilege, because there is a lot of work to be done, and this position gives me an opportunity to make an important contribution in regard to the administration of justice.
Something quite important that came out of that interview as well, with the JSC, and where you have members of opposition parties and political parties rather being part of that interview, is something that was raised with regards to having a female Deputy Chief Justice. And I think the question was asked by the EFF leader, asking why you didn't step aside or decline the nomination in the interest that Justice Nkabinde be the one who assumes that office. What's your take on that? Why did you take that decision?
Well, my attitude was, while there can be no doubt that a lot needs to be done in order to give women opportunities, including at leadership level within the judiciary, the President had nominated me. I don't know what he considered, but I've almost no doubt that he considered a number of people before he decided that he would nominate me. And I thought that in those circumstances, I was not aware of what information he would have had before him that made him decide that he would nominate me. And also, I wouldn't have known whether if I declined, it would necessarily mean he would nominate a woman. I thought that I've been nominated, I should accept nomination and use my new role once appointed to try and assist in making sure that women also get opportunities. My role when I was judge president of the Labour Appeal Court and Labour Court, for example, when I was there, I also used my position as judge president of that court to give, among others, women opportunities. So I thought that if I'm nominated and appointed, I should accept and use this opportunity to make such contribution as I can make together with others to make sure that we have more women in the leadership of the judiciary. We have more women as judges in general, in the high courts, in the Supreme Court of Appeal, and in the constitutional courts.
I see that the newly appointed Supreme Court of Appeal Judge President Mandisa also raises this, and she says that it's quite important in an interview that she had with one of the newspapers, that it's quite important to start having transformation that speaks about having the female voice also at the bench.
No, I think there can be no doubt that we need more women on the bench in general, and we need more women in leadership positions within the judiciary. At the moment, in terms of the heads of superior courts, we have Justice Mandisa, who has been appointed President of the Supreme Court of Appeal. We have the Judge President of the Free State, who is also a woman. We've got the Judge President of the Northwest High Court, who is a woman. There is still need for more judges president who are, or heads of courts who are women. We have a deputy judge president who is a woman in the Western Cape. Some progress is being made, but more still needs to be done.
Well, definitely.
Yes.
During that interview, and this is a clip that surfaced. I don't know if you've seen it before, but during the interview that you had with the JSC, after President Jacob Zuma finally made the appointment and sent out the press release, and we all got the circulation of a clip during the interview where you spoke about your upbringing, and you spoke about a certain Mr. Musa, and many people, Tito Mboweni, the former Reserve Bank governor, speaks about what's currently happening in the country and saying that it's quite a schizophrenic political time. And I guess your story brought about a glimmer of hope, a glimmer that says that South Africa is a country of possibility. And I just quickly want to go back to that interview, that portion of the interview where you actually shed a tear as well. The role that this Mr. Musa has played in your life, how much do you think it has impacted on who you are today?
Well, let me start off by saying that for all these years I thought he was Mr. Musa, but I've discovered afterwards that he's actually Mr. Bucks. Yeah. Well, the shop, his shop was called Kwa Musa. Yeah. So, and whenever you went to his shop, he did appear to be the man in charge, the person in charge, whether owner or whatever. So I think people just referred to him as Mr. Musa, and that's why all along I just thought he was Mr. Musa. He's actually Mr. Bucks. Well, what he did for me has had a tremendous impact. I don't think that when somebody has done for you what Mr. Bucks did for me, it is possible for you not to do what he advised you to do. I mean, I still remember the Saturday morning when I went to see him. I think it was January 1981. I'd finished matric in 1980. I left my home in the morning. I didn't even tell my mom why I was going to town, Ekhopo. And but I knew I was going to talk to him, and when I went to his shop, he was standing there wearing. He used to wear safari suits. He liked them a lot, so he was wearing. I think it was a khaki safari suit on that day, and I spoke to him. We never sat down. I spoke to him. I was standing. He was standing. And I told him my problem. I told him what I was asking for. And it didn't take 10 minutes. I think probably it was not more than 5 minutes. And he said he would help, but he would not give me a loan because I was asking for a loan. Looking back now, I think a 20-year-old asking a business person for a loan is awkward because I was 20 years old then. So he said he would give me a voucher to give to my mom. As you know the story, when I'd finished my junior degree and I went back to him to say what arrangements can we make for me to pay back? He said, don't worry, just do for others what I've done for you. I think when somebody who has helped you like that says that, there's no way you can forget. Yeah. So I think that that propelled me to say, I must help others. I must do this. So as a result, I'm quite very sensitive when I hear of somebody who wants to go to university, who wants to go to school, wants to go to college, but can't because of money problems. Because I know that I got education because other people helped me. I mean, he helped me. He helped me at a very critical time. But later, I was also helped by bursaries, South African Council of Churches, Institute of Race Relations. I got assistance bursaries to go on. I later on got a scholarship from the Tribune, the newspaper, to do my postgraduate LLB. So there are a lot of people who helped me, but his was quite critical. Well, also I was helped by the then mayor of Durban in 1984, Mrs. Sybil Holtz, because I wrote to her. I finished my junior degree in 1983, and I didn't have a bursary to carry on because the bursary that had been helping me said we don't provide for postgraduate studies. So I wrote a letter to Mrs. Sybil Holtz. I said, I would like to further my studies. I don't have a bursary. Can you help? And she spoke to the Sunday Tribune, and the next thing she wrote back and said, the Sunday Tribune will contact you. They will provide you with a scholarship. And that's how I was helped for my LLB. So there are a lot of people who helped me along the way. But Mr. Park's one is very critical because I might not have gone to university at all if I didn't get that kind of assistance for my family, because I might have felt it's going to look very selfish for me to leave the family like this and go to university. Maybe I should go and work. And I don't know whether once I started working, I would later go to university. So it has had a lot of impact on me.
We tried to track him down.
Yes.
We got a hold of him.
Yes.
And we've got this little message from him. I just want to ask you to play there and just listen to what he has to say.
Hello. Raymond, this is Solly Bucks from Ikobo. I'm in Port Shepstone at the moment, and I'm very proud of you for your achievements, and I hope you go from strength to strength, and I will be meeting you soon after my fasting month, and hope for the best for you in the future, and I hope to meet you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. This is wonderful. Thank you so much.
And when he meets you soon, he'll be meeting you as the Deputy Chief Justice of this country.
Well, with the appointment, that is so, even though from my point of view, it will be more personal, but it's true, he will be meeting me at a time when I've been appointed Deputy Chief Justice of South Africa. And, I wonder whether he would be able to picture back 36 years ago, that small boy standing in front of him on that Saturday morning, telling him his problem,
Negotiating a future. Negotiating a future. Let's quickly speak about the current state of the judiciary.
Yes.
Some believe that the country has reached a point where the majority, perceived so, that the majority are not, they do not believe in the other two arms of the state. They do not have confidence in the other two arms of the state, and we're speaking here about the parliament as well as the executive. And they've put their confidence, this is including now political parties as well, opposition parties, they've put their confidence in the judiciary to uphold the rule of law and to ensure that government plays its role to adhere to the constitution. Is this a problem at all? that you have such little faith in these two arms of the state that it almost seems as though the judiciary itself has become overburdened with what should be political issues and dealt with at a political level instead of in a court of law?
I would say that to the extent that some sections of society might have little confidence in the other arms of the state and have more confidence in the judiciary, it's not an ideal situation, because one would like a situation where they also have faith and confidence in the other arms of the state. And it is true that some of the matters that go to our courts are matters that when you look at them, you can't help but feel that they could have been resolved by the other arms of the state, and they end up in court. The court, of course, has got to play its role. Once matters are before it, it's got to play its role. If it is a matter or a dispute that requires the application of the law to resolve it, as contemplated in Section 34 of the Constitution, the court must deal with it and resolve it, irrespective of whether the court would have preferred that it should have been resolved by another arm of the state. The court must simply make sure that it stays, however, within its ambit, so that it also respects the separation of powers while doing that.
And that's quite a critical thing,
yes,
especially at the moment where you have some arguing that there is judicial overreach, even
yes,
with the governing party saying that there is judicial overreach. How do you then deal with that?
Well, you see, the difficulty that one has with some of the people who have made those statements about judges overreaching and so on, is that one doesn't find material where they motivate that. It's very much generalized statements, and it's very difficult to deal with that. One would prefer a situation where people didn't make those kinds of statements unless they could motivate them properly. We handed down a judgment, I think a week or two ago in this court, where, for example, the Chief Justice in the ETV matter, the Chief Justice spelled out very clearly the parameters of the separation of powers, the importance of the judiciary respecting the separation of powers, but also at the same time the fact that where the Constitution gives the courts, the judges, power to intervene, they should intervene. So one has to strike that balance, and that judgment should, I would imagine, have sent out a very clear message that the judiciary and the courts will deal with issues that come before them with due regard to the principle of the separation of powers. But that does not mean that they will shy away from doing their job where the Constitution gives them power to do their job.
What's the danger in that? When you have these sentiments being made public that there's judicial overreach, we even saw a march against the judiciary by members of the ruling party. Is that dangerous at all?
Yes, it is dangerous, because it says, particularly when these statements are made by people who are regarded as leaders by a lot of people, because then it affects the confidence which the population may have in the judiciary. It's something that should not, it's an accusation that should not be made lightly, And if it is made, it's an accusation that should be made where it can really be properly and adequately motivated. But where statements are just made, general statements are made, it's not helpful and it's not good.
I just want to touch on. I just want to touch on something quickly, and this is probably the flip side of this. And this was in the Black Sash versus the Sasa case, where Justice Froneman wrote the majority judgment. I just want to quote from this paragraph. It's paragraph 15 in that judgment. He says, "Judges hold office to serve people just as members of the executive and of the legislature. The underlying danger to us all is that when an institution of government established under the Constitution are undermined, the fabric of our society comes under threat." It's when I read that full judgment, but when I came across that paragraph, it really grabbed me, and it made you think about the dangers that might be there. And you look in when you have you have the lack of faith in these two arms of the state. What happens when we have a lack of faith in all three arms of the state?
Yeah, that's scary. That's scary. One of the reasons why it's very important to have the public or to have courts and the judiciary enjoying the confidence of the people, is that people can then trust that they can take their disputes to the courts rather than resort to other means of resolving disputes. You could have, you sometimes have situations where, or reports in the media, where you hear that certain communities or certain sections of certain communities have taken the law into their own hands. You know, that is what could happen, and it could happen at a large scale if you end up with a situation where the public in general has lost confidence in the courts. It is the responsibility of all of us, including leaders of political parties, leaders in society, not to do anything that could mean that people lose the confidence in the courts or lose faith in the courts. People must always know if they take their disputes to the courts will decide them without fear, favor, or prejudice.
And I guess in the same breath, though, the judges themselves have a role to play in ensuring that the public has confidence in the courts. And I just quickly want to touch on this matter.
There's no doubt about that.
Just quickly want to touch on this one. There are two cases against two senior judges. One is the Judge President of the Western Cape, Judge John Hlophe. Complaint was brought against him. I just can't remember the exact year now, but it's been a couple of years, 2008, 2009 years. And then there's the Nkola Mutata case as well. Those matters have still not been resolved, and it's close to a decade now that those matters have been pending.
Yes.
How does the judiciary then, I don't know if this is the right word, self-correct in those instances?
Well, you know, it's a matter of concern to the judiciary that these matters have taken so long. It is a matter of concern to the judiciary when any matter takes long to be resolved. But there are matters that are very important for our democracy, where it's very important that they should be resolved expeditiously. And I think that matters relating to complaints against judges are some of those matters. We have to bear in mind that on the one hand, you want these matters to be resolved expeditiously, but on the other hand, those judges too have rights. So if they say we are taking a particular decision on review and we want to go up to the highest court, you know, they've got those rights as well. We continue to have to look at what needs to be done to try and strike a balance. I know, for example, that the heads of courts which is a forum chaired by the Chief Justice, have taken a decision to say there are certain matters that the heads of courts should try and expedite. And but that's a decision that has come after those matters. But for the future, I think matters such as these would fall under the cases that the heads of courts have decided. Heads of courts should expedite. It's not just those. I think some of those cases are tender cases, because you could have a tender case that goes on for a long time, for years. In the meantime, something that the public or community needs is not going on. A certain project is at a standstill. So what, as I understand it, what the heads of courts have decided is that in those situations, in regard to certain category of cases, the head of court should consider expediting that matter, so it could even jump the queue of cases waiting, so that then it could be dealt with more expeditiously than has been the case before. But it's a question of what you do when people want to exercise rights that they have under the Constitution, but also at the same time you say you would like these matters to be expedited. But I think that the decision that has been taken by the heads of courts might in the future go a long way to addressing some of the cases that might be delayed for a long time.
Just in conclusion, I see that our time is wrapping up.
Yeah.
The independence of the judiciary. There are concerns that the judiciary might find itself being captured. You, in your interview, said there's nothing that points to that. Can you reassure South Africans that the judiciary of this country remain independent from any political influence or whatsoever from any quarters of society?
I can assure South Africa that there is absolutely nothing that I'm aware of that threatens capturing the judiciary. The judiciary of this country is independent. It remains independent. And I think that when one looks at the track record of our courts, one will see a lot of evidence that supports the view that the judiciary of this country is really independent. I don't think there is any threat of any entity, any body capturing the judiciary of South Africa.